Daniel, a 28-year-old historian and journalist, drove through the empty countryside, following a map so old the ink had started to fade. For weeks, he had researched the rumors. A land abandoned, cursed by something ancient. No one spoke of it. No records, no survivors, just whispers from the elders who warned travelers to stay away. But Daniel had come to uncover the truth. The cursed land awaited. The road led to what should have been a village. But there was nothing. No buildings. No ruins. Just a vast empty field of blackened soil, stretching for miles. The only sign of life was an old church bell, rusted and leaning, half buried in the earth. Daniel parked his car and stepped out. The air was heavy, thick with something unnatural. Then, he saw them. Footprints. Fresh footprints. Leading toward the horizon. Against every rational thought, he followed them. For miles, the cursed land stayed empty. Until, suddenly, it wasn't. A house stood alone in the middle of the wasteland. Old, but untouched by time. Its windows were dark, the front door slightly ajar. A cold wind whispered past him, carrying the faintest echo of a child's laughter. Daniel hesitated, then stepped inside. The moment he did, the door slammed shut behind him. And then, he heard it. A voice. "You should not have come here." The house was silent, yet filled with the weight of unseen things. A faint glow came from deeper inside. Daniel followed it to a grand fireplace, where a woman stood motionless, watching the flames. Her hair was long and white, her dress a relic of another time. But it was her eyes that chilled him most. They were filled with centuries of sorrow. "You are trespassing," she said, her voice calm but hollow. "No one comes here unless they are meant to." Daniel swallowed hard. "What happened to this place?" he asked. The woman finally turned to him and smiled. "Would you like to see?" The moment she spoke, the house dissolved around him. Suddenly, Daniel was no longer in the present. He was inside the past. The village stood before him, alive, its streets bustling with life. Children played. Merchants sold goods. People laughed. But something was wrong. The sky above them was too red, the air too thick. Then he saw them. At the village's edge, dark figures gathered, hooded, whispering, chanting words not meant for mortal tongues. And in their center, a stone altar, a child tied to it. Daniel's breath caught in his throat. A ritual, a sacrifice. And as the first scream tore through the night, he understood. This land was cursed by its own people. A deal with something ancient, something still here. Watching, waiting. The vision shattered, and Daniel was back in the house. The woman still stood by the fire, her face unreadable. "Now you know," she whispered. "They summoned a god they could not control. They wanted wealth, power, but instead, they sealed their own fate." Daniel's voice was barely a whisper. "And you? Who are you?" The woman smiled sadly. "I was the last to die, the one who tried to stop them." She turned to him fully, and for the first time, Daniel saw the wound on her chest. A deep scar, as if she had been stabbed straight through the heart. "But I failed, and so I remain." Daniel shivered. "How do I leave?" The woman's smile faded. "You don't." The house shuddered, its walls creaking like old bones. The air grew thick, as if something unseen had awoken. And then it spoke. A voice, deep as the ocean, echoed through the house. "The curse is eternal." Daniel's pulse pounded. "No, there has to be a way." Silence. Then, the woman turned to him. "A bargain was made to seal this land's fate. Another bargain must be made to set it free." Daniel stared at her. He understood. The only way out was to make a deal, to offer something in return. He swallowed hard. "What do you want?" The shadows twisted, waiting for his answer, and the woman's voice was barely a whisper. "Your name." Daniel frowned. "What?" The woman stepped closer. "This land is cursed because its name was spoken in darkness. If you offer your name in return, The curse will break. The land will be free. But you, she hesitated. You will be forgotten. Daniel's heart pounded. If he agreed, he would cease to exist. No memory, no past, no future, but the land would be saved. For the first time in centuries, life could return. He took a deep breath. Then, he spoke his name. And the world went dark. Morning light spread across the once dead land. The blackened soil was gone. In its place, green fields stretched for miles. The village, rebuilt. People woke from their long slumber, stepping outside, blinking at the rising sun. The curse was lifted. But no one remembered how. No one remembered who had freed them. No one remembered Daniel. He was gone. But the land was alive again. And somewhere, in the whispering wind, a voice murmured a name that no longer existed. The end.